Welcome to this segment of Skills to Pay the Bills. Of course, this is our special segment called the Wealth Zone University, where we teach you how to change your mind about money so you can change your financial future. I'd like to take a minute and thank each one of you in our audience who has written us, sent us emails, and called us and let us know that our format is working for you, that you're taking away a few hours, a few wake-ups, a few bits of new information, and that's what we're here for. We're here to make sure that you learn what you need to know so you can take responsibility for your own financial future. Today's show is about executive benefits, a really important aspect of both being an employee and also being in business. We're not going to get too technical today, as always, but today my special guest is a very good friend and an astute businessman, Skip Pagan. Skip, welcome to the Wealth Zone University.
Thank you, Don.
We're going to kind of make sure that everyone understands exactly where we're going and what we're trying to do. And so executive benefits basically is the ability of a business owner or manager, major employee, to have the, what should I call it, the security of developing a retirement plan and reducing risk overall. So before we go too far, Skip, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a native Washingtonian, and I started my career in sales, representing a number of software companies. And when I was given the opportunity, after developing a rich set of skills in terms of client development, business development, and sales, I started a professional staffing franchise, or actually bought a professional staffing franchise.
And your company is called?
Express Employment Professionals.
Okay, and we talked about this earlier. It's not a temp agency, it's actually a?
That's a great point. It's a professional staffing agency, and there is a significant difference. Temp agencies basically do just temporary work. We provide three solutions. We call it flexible staffing. We do evaluation hire as well as direct hire executive search. So that's how we differentiate ourselves in being professionals versus just regular temp agents.
To give an example, we've used Skip's services in our business. During tax season and during other financial seasons when we expand, we actually go to Skip and we get our personnel from him. But also, we've actually had him do services for our clients.
Absolutely.
So he does two things. So tell us about what you do as a professional staffing agency.
Our primary focus is to help people find, actually our slogan is that we help clients find good people and good people find good jobs.
Okay, I like that.
So we're middlemen, if you would look at it from that perspective. Our charter is to engage with clients, develop relationships with those clients, and from that point on, know their business well enough to know the kind of people that they need to make their business thrive.
So that would be me.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
So finding people, we have a number of ways of actually sourcing and recruiting talent. And then we position those people in places where we think that they're going to thrive. We coach a little bit, we develop skills a little bit, but more importantly, we put people in positions where we know that they can be successful.
Okay, that works. And in bringing on, let's just say from my perspective, two types of people. People that you're going to place for someone else and people that you're recruiting.
Right.
One of the things that you always look for in both of those instances is what the executive benefit or the benefit structure package is. Is that right?
Absolutely. So if you look on our side, there are a lot of temp agencies, there are a lot of, or a fair number of professional staffing agencies. And so why would a candidate want to work for Express Employment Professionals versus another one of our competitors?
Okay.
Well, we provide access to some essential benefits that most employees want, those being health care, dental care, vision, short and long-term disability. And so part of our being an attractive place to work is the fact that we, in fact, are able to offer the benefits that are crucial to the lifestyle of many of the associates that we have.
Okay.
On the client side, what we typically are doing is we are selling to our candidate that client as a great place to work. And so when the client has the benefit package available to prospective clients. It puts that client in a position to attract the top talent.
So it enhances my ability to get a good quality
Absolutely,
person
because,
and retain them if I have
you
a
know,
good benefit package for them.
Even though this is still an employer's market, there are still opportunities for the best candidates to go a number of places. And so as an employer, I want to make sure that I have as much to offer, if not more, than another company when I'm looking for that top talent.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we actually get into executive benefits, there's something you said it very, very interestingly, that you actually bought a franchise.
Correct.
So one of the things that's really important, we're encouraging everybody that being in business for yourself is probably the ultimate freedom.
Absolutely.
I like the fact that you have a national company, but it's your part of it, your franchise. Tell us about how you actually got into that aspect of it.
Well, as a sales executive for a number of software companies, I found myself in a position where I was the lone employee, if you may, in this Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. A lot of what I did was selling to defense and aerospace, government work.
Okay.
And so I developed a skill set which allowed me not to be a profit and loss, but to do everything outside of being a profit and loss center in running a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was already groomed to be a franchise owner. I just didn't know it.
Okay,
So
like
when this opportunity came, it was a lot of the same things that I had already been doing.
but doing for someone else.
But doing for someone else, I was able to do for myself. The company behind us, Express Services, provides the backbone of the business. I basically supply the manpower in going out and developing clients, making sure that I recruit the right candidates, and then running a business as you know, has to be run. And that means paying all of the bills, making sure that we have fax and phone and all the other services necessary.
Mm-hmm. So just to move this another further, you decided that instead of, let's just say, starting a staffing company on your own from scratch, that it would be advisable to get into or buy into an existing framework that would give you the kind of support that would give you a better chance of ensuring your success.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So basically buying a franchise, it's a giant step forward to success because being a national organization, there's an awful lot of advertising that I don't have to personally pay for. The fact that I get contracts from clients on a national basis through our national organization means that I don't have to talk to someone in California that needs staffing here in the Washington area. They come to me. But also in the arrangement that we have, I don't have to payroll all of the associates that I put to work. Express Services actually payrolls those people.
Okay, so you've got a bank
my
there.
cash, that really enhances the cash flow. And then the final thing is the whole infrastructure of the organization, from IT to accounting to a lot of the things that you need to run a successful business are already offered through our franchisor.
Well, that's fantastic. And I know this doesn't have anything to do with executive benefits, but being in business is extremely important. And when you have that kind of support, that goes a long way to making sure that you can operate well. And from what you tell me, the Express Services
Right.
actually is sort of bankrolls in certain instances.
Absolutely. When you look at staffing, the major component in terms of expense is the actual payment or payrolling of the people that are working. We make a margin per hour, and the arrangement that I have is that I go out and generate the business. Our franchisor actually payrolls the associates, and what we do is we split the margin per hour that we make on every hour that an employee works.
That's fantastic. That is great. Now, you have a good relationship with them, I assume, right?
It's a pretty good relationship.
Okay, so could you call them up and tell them I need to be banked? You know what I mean?
think so.
Skip,
I think so.
please. I mean, that's all we
Absolutely.
need to do. Great. Now, one of the things that we wanted to make sure everyone understood is that we're going to talk about two types of executive benefits. Initially, from the employee's perspective, which you have a wealth of knowledge about, and then we're going to talk about from the business perspective, our perspective as business owners. You mentioned that on the employee side, that there are maybe let's call it a cafeteria plan kind. We can
Absolutely.
pick and choose what we want. My understanding is that for the vast majority of people looking for a job, that health insurance is the first thing on their top of their benefits list, followed by retirement planning, and then followed by the other types of insurance. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, yes.
Okay. Now, have you seen an instance where different types of health plans make a difference? I mean, HMOs, PPOs, PSOs, POSs. Do you see that there's a kind of plan that most people like, or
Well, I think
does
it
vary?
varies. It varies, but the primary focus in answering that question is you have to look at two groups of people.
Okay.
You have to look at single contributor or single household kinds of candidates, and then you have to look at the more family-oriented candidate. And so they have a variety or a difference in what it's important to them. Just as a good example, before I left the office today, we have an associate or a candidate that is looking to accept a position from one of our clients. She is already, she's currently employed. She is debating whether she can take a step backwards in terms of income to basically make up the difference in commuting cost.
Okay.
And part of her decision has to be, how much is it going to cost me more, because the new prospective employer doesn't offer the same amount of benefits, healthcare benefits, as the employer that I'm leaving. And so she's got a major decision to make.
Oh, yeah.
And how she does the arithmetic will determine whether she is willing to take the new job or whether she's going to stay in her current position.
That's an interesting take on it, because benefits then not only have the ability to reduce your risk and ensure your future, but they also become a key point in whether or not the job, taken in total, is something that you want to do.
Absolutely.
That's a good take on it, and we we're going to visit that when we come back. We're going to take a break in a half a second. Two things I want to mention to you before we do take that break. That while we've got this content expert with us, I need you to give us a buzz, give us a call, because Skip is ready to answer all the questions that we have about benefits and executive benefits. And remember, the reason that we're here is to change your mind about money so you can change your financial future. When we have an expert that can do it, we need to make sure that we take full advantage of their brains. We're going to be back in the next segment, so take a break, stay with us, go get a cup of coffee, hopefully Organo Gold, and then come back and visit with us, okay? Thanks.
Hi, I'm Chase Slade, the coolest 8-year-old you will ever meet. My grandpa Don gave me so much money last year that my piggy bank could no longer hold not one more dollar. So he told me to watch Skills to Pay the Bills on Channel 10 to learn the real secrets of money. You can be cool just like me by watching Skills to Pay the Bills on Channel 10.
Welcome back to the second segment. As you already know, we've been talking about executive benefits and employee benefits. In the first segment, we spent a little extra time getting to know Skip and getting to know how his business operates, but also getting to know how he got into business. And we spent that extra time because we thought it was really, really important that you know that there's more than one way of being in business, and Skip is a franchisor. This segment, we're going to try and get into the meat of executive benefits and let you know how important we think it is that both from the employee perspective and from the employer perspective that we begin to evaluate these benefits and make them work for us. So Skip, before we left, we were talking about employees, and we happened to mention that from an employee perspective, health insurance, from what I know, is really one of the key ones,
Right.
followed by retirement, and then possibly followed by maybe long-term care disability.
Right.
Would you agree with that from your perspective?
Absolutely. If you think about it, what the employee is always looking at is, how can I continue to work? Given that I am feeling up to the task, as well as I have to be able to care for my children and maybe my family members. So healthcare typically is the critical point in the decision to look at a benefits package, if you may, as favorable. Because it's important for employees to be able to get to work, and to make sure that their family is taken care of.
Now, my understanding is that most healthcare packages are now being amended to add things like dental benefits
Yes.
and vision benefits, which aren't part of the main package, but they're like add-ons.
Typically, what you'll see is you'll see the minimal investment will be an investment on healthcare. The way we structure our offered benefits, there is the first piece, which is medical. You can opt in also, once you have medical, to do dental. You can then opt in also to do the vision.
Vision.
And so that's the way, that's a typical approach to actually layering, if you may, the healthcare benefits offered.
Good. Now, does long-term care come into that health, dental, vision aspect?
The
Or
long-term care
that's
is
total
just
different?
another layer.
Or just another layer?
Yes.
So in the cafeteria plan, they call it cafeteria plan because you actually walk through and pick what you want from what they're serving.
Right.
So in the cafeteria plan, you can actually add on so
Each
that
one
the
of the
benefits
layers.
are tailored to your particular situation as an employee or a family member.
Each one of the layers, correct.
Great. One of the other things that employers give a lot of is group term life insurance.
Yes.
And my understanding is that that's normally not something that you can take with you when you leave an employer. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So I guess they call that portability. So portability is one of the things that an employee should be considering when they're crafting their employee benefit packages.
Absolutely.
Would you say?
Given the fact that the day and age of my father, where he stayed in one job 38, 39 years, that doesn't exist in this environment any longer.
Yeah. I've seen, and the reason I brought that up, I've seen people who've had really nice packages, but 2 years later, their job was gone or they decided to move. And as you said in that example in that last segment about the young lady who was evaluating whether or not she was going to take a job based upon a whole bunch of variables, those benefit packages make a big difference, don't they?
They do. They very much do.
Yeah, that's important. And so what we'd like you to understand coming away from this as an employee is that the benefit package that you help develop inside your company or that your companies offer becomes extremely important. Now, I understand that there are things called voluntary benefit package where the employer might provide, let's just say, group term life up to $100,000. But there also may be a provision where you as the employee can buy some additional life insurance on your own
Yes.
through that same group plan.
Yes.
And now, is that something that you see a lot of going on now? Because when I was working for, this is a long time ago, for an employer, it was their group term, and that was it. There was no option to buy anything else. You see a lot of that happening now?
I wouldn't say a lot. I see some of it. And that's probably an emerging market, if you may.
Now, inside of a company, the employee benefits, are they driven by the cost that the employer has to incur to provide these benefits?
Always.
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 Okay.
And so every employer is going to look at what does it cost to provide these benefits to the employee pool, and what's the benefit? So there's always a cost-benefit analysis that has to take place.
Okay. And so one of the things that will happen is the degree or the fringe of a benefit plan will depend upon the employer, what the employer's cash flow is, what their philosophy is, and what their financial position is.
Absolutely. All of those things are key in that decision.
So when you're negotiating for placing a person, is that what you're looking at in that company to find out what's being offered, how they're being offered, what the incentives are, how will your person that you're placing be incentivized to stay there, to accept the job in the first place, but stay there?
Absolutely, and often is the case when, especially when you're looking at high-profile, very key individuals, we don't have to search. We don't have to ask many questions. The prospective employer will offer that up.
We'll offer that up.
Because here again, from the employer's perspective, how can I attract top talent? And it can't always be just throwing dollars at the problem. In other words, we want to pay a solid pay, but there are other things that in this day and age that employees are looking for. And clearly when they look at the the benefits that are offered, and then sometimes it's a non-monetary benefit like flexible work from home.
Great, which is becoming more and more prevalent.
Absolutely. But the total package offered is key. So a prospective employer is going to volunteer why I should sell and how I should sell them to the top candidate.
Great. Now, you employees, I want you to hear what Skip is saying, because it's very important that you go back and take a look at your employee benefit and fringe benefit plans to make sure that you're taking full advantage of them, number one. Realize that the cost of implementing that plan will be a factor in your employer's decision, but in a lot of instances, employers now are giving the employee the ability to supplement what's in that plan with voluntary contributions or voluntary programs that they're now coming up on. We're going to switch real quickly because Skip and I are both business owners. We're going to talk about executive benefits from our perspective. And when I say our perspective, guys, gals who work really hard to build something, normally they put off taking care of themselves until sometime in the future. And in this day and age, that future becomes further and further away. And so we've become quite apparent that we've got to start protecting ourselves. And while health insurance is probably the benefit that most employees look for, I would think that retirement planning is the thing that we business owners tend to think is the primary thing we should be getting.
When you look at retirement planning, it has to be very much on the top shelf of all of the things that business owners look for, because your typical business owner, I heard this early on as a younger man, you'll never work as hard as you can working for someone else. You work far more or put in more hours working for yourself than you will ever do for someone else. Mm-hmm. Given that, the amount of time and energy you put into building a business, you need to make sure that all of that time and energy goes to something that one day will pay off in your ability to retire and enjoy a lifestyle that you've worked very hard to obtain. So that's a big piece of the puzzle.
Now, in addition to that piece, then, we talked about this earlier, comes this big ocean of business continuation, which basically means, okay, so now I've taken care of my ability to have a good financial future when I don't want to work anymore. Right. But right now, I've got to also do some things that will make sure that I can continue to work, that my business can operate, and that's the business continuation area. What kinds of things, as a business owner, do you consider in the business continuation vein?
Well, when you look at the fact that as a business owner, you've made an investment, whether that is something that you've saved or something that you've leveraged through borrowing, but you've made a substantial investment in this business. Mm-hmm. As we know in business, cash flow is king, and servicing your debt is very important. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have a strategy such that you can maintain cash flow and debt service through the period of time that you're building and developing and growing the business. If ever there comes a point in time, though, when you, as the principal of that business, are unable to perform your duties, then you have to have a strategy in place to be able to have someone come in and manage the organization under your directive while you're maybe sick,
sick or injured,
or you have to have, and you have to have the some mechanism which will produce cash flow, such that those bills, which means every month, if you're leasing space, they don't suspend that lease. They want the money on the first.
Exactly.
And so you have to have strategy in place through insurance instruments to be able to keep the business going if you unfortunately are injured or sick.
So that big pool of business continuation could include an insurance policy for disability, short-term or long-time. It could ensure insurance policy for if something happens in your business and it would breaks the cash flow or provide cash flow for you. So there are different kinds of risk-related insurances that a person who's in business can employ to make sure that they reduce their risk in case something happens to them.
Absolutely.
So it's retirement, long-term planning, but it's also making sure that right now you can continue to operate if something happens. But there's also like key person insurance, buy-sell insurance. Those are things that make sure that if, again, you're disabled or if you die, that the people who are involved in business with you can continue to run the business.
Right. If you look at many businesses, small businesses per se, the goal, and I look at myself, I'm not sure my son is going to take advantage of this, but when I look at it, when I originally thought about going into business for myself, I wanted to make sure that I had something that, as my son is now a junior in college, when he comes out, he might want to one day be involved in this business, and it might be, in fact, his livelihood. And so, again, you want to make sure that if something happens to me, I have the ability to transfer, and or in the case of myself, I am a very key part of that business. If something happens to me, how do we get it going?
That's good.
Keep it going.
Hey, folks, this man knows executive benefits are extremely important, both from an employee and from a business owner perspective. And we hope you learned a lot today, and we hope you join us in our next segment. Again, give us a call, let us know what you think, and send us an email. We really do appreciate having communication with you. For now, Don Moragne signing off from the Wealth Zone University. Remember, we're trying to change your mind about money so you can change your financial future.